Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a full face of L'Oreal makeup. I polled you guys over on my community tab and asked you what drugstore brand you wanted to see a full face of next, and L'Oreal was the winner, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I've been kind of collecting things over the last few weeks and I have almost everything for an entirely full face of L'Oreal, so I'm very excited. If you are new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty and makeup content here on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I hope you'll subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into the makeup. I am still drinking coffee even though it is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I got maybe an hour of sleep last night. Our dog has been sick, like having stomach issues, major ones, and we've been up pretty much all night for a few days now, so I've barely gotten any sleep. So I am just hanging on by a thread today, but we're gonna film. The show must go on, so I still have my coffee here, so I'll probably pause every now and then and take a sip because I need some energy. But just a disclaimer, if I seem a little more low energy than normal, that's why. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, we'll start out with primer. So I did get one of the new L'Oreal primers. These are the Prime Lab Advanced Derm Primers. There are a few different versions. This is the redness one. So this is the Redness Eraser with 4% niacinamide. Covers redness and evens tone over time. I think there were 4 of these, maybe 5 of them. There was one for texture, there was one for dullness, there were a few. So this is just the one that I went with since I do have redness in my skin. So we'll go ahead and try this out. I'm excited because I've been very into primer lately. Okay, so it's very green. I'm gonna actually apply it like this, and then let me grab a brush. I found that when I use these like redness correcting primers, I like to do it with a brush, just because if you have sensitive skin like I do, and especially sensitive red skin, typically you don't want to rub your skin a whole lot, especially like right before you do makeup, because it usually just kind of irritates your skin. So I'm just gonna blend this in with a brush. And honestly, I probably use too much. I don't really need any here or on my forehead, but we will just go ahead and use it since I pumped it out. I'm not sure if L'Oreal had primers before. I wasn't really familiar with any that they had, because I thought maybe they came out with this line to replace their other primers, but I don't know. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely very green. So this is definitely doing a really great job at toning down the redness for sure. I've been using the Makeup Forever primer that's for redness, and I've had that for a few months and I really like it. But this one is actually, I want to say, a little bit more green than that one. So I went ahead and applied some color corrector under my eyes, because I always do, and L'Oreal does not make a color corrector other than they do make a stick color corrector. The only place I've ever seen it is Walmart, and I think it's just called the True Match Corrector, maybe. I have purchased that in the past and I didn't love it. It gave little to no coverage for me under my eyes, and I think that's the only corrector that they have. And like I said, I didn't sleep, or I haven't slept well in a few nights, so I used some of the Pixie corrector under my eyes. And that primer, hopefully it does well with foundation over the top, but I am very impressed with the redness aspect. I think this works even better in terms of correcting redness than that Makeup Forever primer. This primer is on the pricey side at Ulta, which is where I got mine. It was $16.99. You can usually use some type of coupon at Ulta to get a little bit of money off, but It's still less than the Makeup Forever primer, but this is kind of on the pricey side, so that's the only thing, but very impressed so far. Okay, let's move into foundation, and we are gonna try the new True Match Super-Blendable foundation. So this, I am assuming, is replacing their original True Match foundation that's been around forever. It comes in a little tiny little bottle with no pump. I'm very happy to see they finally added a pump. I have tried the True Match years ago, like long before I had a YouTube channel, and I don't remember anything about it, to be honest, so I have no clue if I liked it or not, but I'm really excited to try this. So this is the shade W2, and I had to order this online. I ordered mine from Ulta, so I was not able to see anything in person, so I have no idea about the shades, but I just had to guess. So this is the shade W2. It's very runny. I think they did remove SPF from this. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the original had SPF in it, and this one, it's not on the bottle anywhere, so I'm assuming that it does not have SPF. And I'm just gonna dot it like I normally do. So this spreads very easily. It's not a thick formula, just FYI. So let's try this out. I'm hoping they start getting these in store soon, because I have not seen it in store anywhere. I've seen at the Target near me, they've kind of gotten rid of all the original ones, and now this section of L'Oreal is just like empty. So I'm hoping this is about to come in stores, because there's just not a whole lot of information in terms of shades online. Okay, so this is blending in really well, really easily. And I've seen some things, people saying that they did not reformulate it. I've seen some people saying that they did reformulate it. I would assume if they went through the trouble of repackaging it and basically relaunching it, they probably did reformulate it, but I'm just assuming. I don't know that. So yeah, it is blending in really easily, and actually I think this shade is fine. So there it is. Let's look up close. I'm gonna add a little bit more in a second, I think. Okay, it's very pretty, very natural finish, I would say. It's not super glowy, but it's definitely not matte. It's kind of right in between, which is what I personally really like. I'm gonna take what's left on my hand. I would say it's pretty light coverage right now, maybe like a light medium. You can really still see a lot of my skin through it. So I'm gonna see how buildable it is. And again, this was only a little bit more than a pump. It's not wanting to stick on my nose for some reason. I like keep bouncing my sponge over just to make sure everything is blended. And I feel like the foundation does not want to stay on my nose for some reason. I'm gonna add a little bit more. So it's a very natural look for sure. It's not a ton of coverage. Even with like building it up, I feel like it's still a very natural coverage, like a very light medium. I don't even know that I would say it's like a full medium coverage. It's very light, but it's really pretty, very natural. I feel like this is just like a lighter coverage version of the Infallible, the Fresh Wear. That one I've used in the past, and that's definitely more coverage than this one. But it looks pretty. I love the finish. I like how it looks so far. I don't know if I love it as much as the Infallible from L'Oreal. I haven't tried that in a long time, but it's pretty. But we'll see how it lays with everything else over the top. For concealer, I did get the Infallible Full Wear Concealer. I am a little bit worried that this is going to be a little bit darker than this foundation, because this foundation is pretty fair. But we'll see. So this is the shade Oatmeal, 345. Well, I don't know, maybe not. So that is it. there. I have used this concealer, but not in a very long time. I remember I hated the color that I had. It was way too light. I remember that, but I don't really remember much else about it. So let's try this out. Actually, the color looks like it should be fine. Okay, I added a little bit here on my cheek area, and we'll see if it adds any more coverage. I think this is actually a really good match with that foundation color. So I'm gonna use the same brush, and then I'm gonna switch to, maybe we should use a sponge, because I think this is a pretty thick, full coverage concealer. I never use a sponge anymore for my concealer, but like it'll probably be okay with this formula. So it gives pretty good coverage. I'm gonna take a small brush and just kind of tap over everything. I'm just not a huge fan of a sponge for concealer. I just prefer a brush. So I'm gonna tap this out. Yeah, it gives pretty great coverage. I don't know that I love that color still. I feel like that was one of my problems with this before, was I couldn't find a color that I really liked. I will say the foundation is sitting a little bit weird around my mouth. Like, it probably won't show up on camera, but when I look up close, like anywhere where I have like tiny little lines, or I don't have a ton, but just right around my mouth, I feel like it's kind of sitting in there. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like it's not sitting the absolute best in that area, but overall it looks pretty good. So I am gonna go ahead and set my face, because we're gonna use powder bronzer and powder blush. I did not pick up a L'Oreal powder. I don't know why, I guess I just didn't think about it. So we're just gonna use a little bit of the Maybelline Fit Me powder, and I'm just gonna kind of lightly dust this all over with a really large fluffy brush. This one's from BK Beauty, and I'm just gonna lightly set my face with this, just to make sure the bronzer and the blush don't go on patchy at all. Okay, I actually have two bronzers. So I have the Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear and the Lumi bronzer. So I'm trying to decide which one I want to use. I might use the Lumi because I kind of want to add a little bit more glow to my face. And then I can always add a little bit of this too. I think the Lumi is a little bit cooler toned than the L'Oreal. So we'll just see. So this is what it looks like. This is like a cult favorite, I feel like, from L'Oreal. It comes in 3 shades, I believe, and this is shade Light. So I'm gonna use this Sephora number 59 brush. I've used this bronzer, but not in a long time, so I don't remember a whole lot about it. So I'm just gonna add some of this all over to add some warmth, because I do feel like that foundation is just a little bit white looking. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I do feel like it's a little bit pasty looking. So I'm just tapping this on. Yeah, so this is a pretty fair bronzer as well, which is fine. It kind of goes with this foundation color. So we're adding a little bit of life to my face. And then bring a little bit down my neck too. Now for blush, I got a new shade of the L'Oreal Age Perfect blushes. If you've been around my channel for a really long time, you may remember my first year on YouTube, I did a review of this line when it came out, the Age Perfect line. I'll try to link it somewhere on the screen for you if you want to go watch it. It's an old video, and this was one of my favorite things from that video. I had one that was called, I think it was Rosewood, but I got a different shade this time. This one is called Mauve, or just Mauve is the shade. So I got a different color, and I'm afraid that the whole L'Oreal Age Perfect line is being discontinued because I've seen it quite a few places and the whole line is clearanced. It wasn't when I bought this blush, but I have seen several places where everything is clearanced, which makes me sad because I like the Age Perfect line. So I'm going to take this angled blush brush from Smashbox and add some of this blush. And I'm just doing a little bit at first because I don't want to add too much. It's kind of like a wine, almost like a berry toned blush. It's pretty. Oh yeah, I like that. But I remember I loved the first blush I had. I'm pretty sure it was called Rosewood. That's nice. Love that. So if you can find some of these blushes on clearance, definitely pick one up because they're really good. They have a little bit of not glitter, shimmer in them if you look really closely, like in the pan, but you can't even really see it on your face. I mean, maybe just slightly if you look up close, but it's a very subtle sheen. So if you see those, definitely pick one up. Okay, let's move on to brows. I got one of the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer pencils in the shade Ash Brown. I'm excited to try this since lately I've discovered so many good brow products from the drugstore. So I'm curious how this pencil will be, but I've heard really great things about this L'Oreal pencil. And it looks very similar to all the other drugstore pencils, has the spoolie, and then a small little fine tip. I did apply a little bit of this. I don't have a brow gel from L'Oreal. I don't remember even seeing one. I might have missed it, but I used this NYX brow glue, and I'm just gonna fill in with this pencil. So that is Ash Brown. Feel-wise, it's kind of reminding me of the Micro Brow from NYX. It's a little bit more of a waxy consistency. Finished filling in my brows, and I did apply a little bit of eye primer. I don't think L'Oreal makes an eye primer that I know of, so I just used the Milani one. Now we're gonna move on to eyes. Now, eyeshadow from L'Oreal is not the best in terms of their selection. They have some bigger, longer palettes that have a lot of neutrals in them, but I looked at those and I could just tell by looking at the quality of the shadows that those probably weren't the best shadows. I can usually tell with drugstore shadows just by looking at it. They just looked very powdery and just not the best. So I ended up getting a few of their single shadows. So I have two of them here. This one is Cafe au Lait. It's kind of a cooler toned brown, and then this is the little beige dress that looks like this. It's just a light neutral color. I'll swatch these for you, but I just didn't see a whole lot of things for the eyes that I was very interested in, to be honest. So that is little beige dress, very, very light, and that is Cafe au Lait. They feel nice just by swatching them. They feel kind of like a satiny formula. And then I did also get one of these. This is the Infallible eyeshadow in the shade Iced Latte. Now this, I'm not really sure if this is, it's kind of cracked. So I've looked at this a few different places, and every time I would see it, most of them look like they were broken. I'm trying to tell if this is like a loose shadow or is it a pressed pigment. Kind of hard to tell, but it says do not remove or do not discard this little thing. So I guess you're supposed to leave it on there. I don't know. Let me see if I can swatch this. I was thinking this would be, so that's it there. It's just kind of a light champagne, almost like a glitter topper looking thing. So we're just gonna do something really easy. Y'all know me, I do mainly neutrals anyway. So let's do it. And then we might even add a little bit of this bronzer that we used to the eyes. Okay, so I'm gonna take the lighter one, the little beige dress. It's kind of a pinky beige color. And I'm gonna get some of that on this brush, and I'm just gonna tap this all over pretty much everywhere where I applied the primer and just kind of set everything down. Yeah, so just barely anything, just very, very light wash of color. So I'll do this side. Okay, before I move on, I'm gonna take a little bit of powder, where is it? And set just a little bit under my eyes, just because I feel like there's gonna be some fallout from this and I don't want my under eyes covered in glitter. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that powder and I'm gonna go over my under eyes. Just to be honest, I'm not loving that concealer. It is settling into every teeny tiny little line that I have, and I don't even have that many. But yeah, the concealer, not a huge fan. It's definitely settling and it looks very, very dry under my eyes. Now let's move on to the Cafe au Lait color. So this is the one that's a bit deeper, more brown. So I'm gonna use this Luxie tapered blending brush and I'm gonna apply this in my crease, even though I think this has like a tiny bit of sheen to it. So I'm gonna apply this in the crease and even bring it down just a little bit in this outer corner. Okay, so this shade obviously gives more color than the first one, but it's still very sheer. It's just very powdery, which that's kind of what I thought when I was looking at that large eyeshadow palette I was talking about. I think it's called like just the nude palette or something like that. And the shades, you can just tell. Eyeshadow is tricky. Now that we have like ColourPop, it's just hard to justify these brands that don't have the best eyeshadow formula. I mean, I don't expect it to perform like a Natasha Denona shadow, but I don't know. I've gone in quite a few times and I feel like I've gotten like little to no color, which I don't love something super pigmented like immediately, but I don't know. Let's take a little bit of our bronzer that we used and I'm gonna use that same brush and just add a little bit of that just to kind of tie everything together since we use this on the face. And so now I'm going to go into this pigment and I want to add a little bit just in the center of my eyes, but like I said, I have a feeling there's going to be some fallout here, so I'm going to spray my brush first. Let's see, I'll use the Milani Make It Last spray. But yeah, see how it's like all kind of crumbled in there? I don't know. I feel like every time I looked at these somewhere, they were always shattered. I don't know if it's just from them like being dropped or what. Okay, so I got some on the brush and I'm just gonna tap it on. It's not super like impactful. I'm gonna spray again and we'll try a little bit more. Okay, now you can see it a little bit better. That's not bad. When you build it up, you don't get much impact initially. You have to kind of go in and add more. This color is kind of more silvery. I was thinking it would be more of like a champagne-y kind of color, but it's pretty silvery. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of the Cafe au Lait color, and I'm gonna put this under my eyes just really lightly. Even that topper shade, you guys, it just looks very dry. It's very lackluster, I guess is what I would say. Okay, I did get a liquid liner. You know, I'm in a liquid liner phase right now. So I got the Infallible liquid eyeliner, super slim, precise tip in the shade brown. So I've tried the Physicians Formula eyeliner, which I really like. I tried the Maybelline one, which I liked initially. Oh, you know what this really reminds me of, just looking at it? This looks identical to the One Size liner. They look almost identical. That's interesting. Hopefully this one will perform well. I looked at reviews of this liner, and this one from L'Oreal had the best reviews. So that's why I went with this one. Okay, so I'm gonna do a wing with this and hope for the best. I probably will not talk much while I'm doing this because I have to concentrate really hard when I do. Okay, so this is already kind of dry and I just opened it, so this should not be dry. I did it, but that was painfully difficult. This is like already dry and it's brand new. The tip, I like kept having to go over certain areas over and over, and like no product is coming out. I no. I would say definitely not. This one I don't have that issue with yet, and I've been using this for about a month at this point, and I'm still not getting super dry areas. So yeah, I would not recommend that one. I tried to kind of go over it with this shadow and kind of even it out a little bit, even though this is not as dark as I really need it to be. I should have gotten a mini in like a dark brown, I guess, and I could have tried to fix it that way. I don't know, but yeah, that was way too difficult. Way too difficult. And the Physicians Formula liner is way better. I don't have that issue with that. So, okay, let's move on to mascara. I'm first going to curl my lashes. So I have a few mascaras from L'Oreal. I have the Telescopic Lift, which is their newest one. You know, if you've been watching me for a while, I love this one, the Voluminous Balm Mascara. This one is very, very natural though. It doesn't give a whole lot of volume, even though it's called the Voluminous Balm. I personally think it's just a very natural mascara. So we're gonna go in with the Telescopic Lift today in the shade Black Brown. I like this mascara a lot. It is kind of flat, has like this flat paddle end, and then it has teeth on both sides. So when I read the directions, what they suggest is to use the flat side to kind of press mascara along the base of your lashes and then flip the wand and brush it through with the teeth end. I've done that way. I've also just used the teeth, and I don't see a huge difference, to be honest, between the two methods, but I guess we'll do it the way they intend today. So I'm gonna kind of stamp the flat end at the base, and then we'll flip and use the teeth to brush it through. I will say this formula, I have found that you can build it up, like go in with a few coats of it, but it does tend to get a little bit clumpy the more you build it. So that's just something I've noticed, but overall it's good. I like this better than the original Telescopic mascara. So you can see it gives a lot of length, and that's just one coat. I'm gonna go in and add a little bit more. So there it is with two coats. I mean, it's very good. I do find it gets a little bit clumpy, but I do like it. And you can also use this little tool I've been using a lot lately. It's a lash separator from Tweezerman. And you can just kind of brush through your lashes with it. Okay, let's do the other eye. Last, for the lips, I did get a L'Oreal lip liner. This is the Color Riche Matte Lip Liner in the shade Mating Call. It's just kind of a brownie nude. Looks like this. And then I also got one of the Glow Paradise Balms, but I got a different color. I love the shade Nude Heaven. I've talked about that a ton on my channel, but I got a new shade to try. So that's pretty. It's kind of has a little more brown to it. It's not super pinky, but it's nice. It's very matte, extremely matte feeling, but it's easy to apply. And then this is the Glow Paradise Balm in Beige Eden, which looks like this. I think it's just a little bit lighter than the normal Nude Heaven that I use. So we'll try this out on top. These are great from L'Oreal if you want a lipstick but not something super thick and heavy feeling. You want a little bit of a shine. These from L'Oreal are really nice. Okay, so this is the final look. I wanted to quickly kind of go over everything and give you my closing thoughts on them. First of all, this was very impressive to me. The primer, the Redness Eraser with 4% niacinamide. I really liked this. I think next time I will definitely use less of it. I didn't expect it to be so intensely green, but it did a really great job at toning down the redness on my skin. So this I think is very, very good, and I would recommend looking into the other primers in this line. So this I was impressed with. As far as the foundation and the concealer, okay, you guys, this foundation is okay looking, but I do think it looks dry overall. My face looks very dry to me, just kind of everywhere. It's a very thin formula, which would probably be really appealing to a lot of people. I do think though, it just looks dry. Overall, it looks very dry sitting on my skin, and I do not have dry skin. My skin is very normal, and I really hydrate my skin before makeup, so I typically don't have issues with things looking dry, but overall, I would say it looks pretty dry. I did set with the Maybelline powder, but I used such a big brush and just kind of went over my whole face with it. So I didn't use a ton of powder and it still looks pretty dry. So yeah, like I don't even have many lines in my skin. I'm 30 years old, so I don't have a ton of lines at this point, but I do have some. And I just feel like it's not laying the best over my skin. And overall, my skin is pretty smooth. So I don't know. I can't say I'm crazy about that foundation. And same goes with the concealer. My under eyes also look very dry. And they looked dry before I set them with any powder. So it's not from the powder. I think that concealer is just very thick and very heavy, not hydrating whatsoever. So not a huge fan of that either, unfortunately. Okay, the bronzer I love. I've had this for quite a while, and this is very good on the face and on the eyes. So this is definitely a great product from them. The Infallible bronzer, I didn't use it today, but I've used it in other videos. This is good also. It can sometimes get a little bit patchy if you don't set your face really well before you use it. So that's the only thing with this. This one is matte. This one is more of a radiant finish, but these overall are pretty good. The blush I really like. I knew that I liked these since I've tried them in the past, but I think these are being discontinued, which makes me sad. But this shade 405 Mauve is very pretty. I like this a lot. So if you see any of those on clearance, or even if they're not on clearance, I really recommend those. The brow pencil was okay. I do think I prefer my CoverGirl pencil. I don't know, this one worked fine. I think the color is okay. I think the CoverGirl pencil is a little bit ashier in the color. That one is called ash brown, but I feel like it does have a little bit of warmth to it, and I prefer the more ashy tone in my brows. But it was not bad, but not anything to write home about. The eyeshadows, I would say skip all of these. These singles, I want them to be good, but they're just so, ugh, like they just don't do much for me. They're very powdery, not pigmented at all. So yeah, I can't say I recommend those. This topper is okay, but again, it's just very lackluster. There's nothing that like makes me want to use it again. It just looks very inexpensive, to be honest. The eyeliner is a no for sure. That was way too difficult to use for my first time using it. I mean, yeah, I can't say I recommend that. I would go for the Physicians Formula one for sure. The mascara. Okay, the mascara is good. I like this. I've been using this formula. I really like it. It adds a lot of length to my lashes. As you can see, I would just say it does get a little bit clumpy. So if you don't love that, you might not love this formula. And the lip combo. Okay, the lip combo I really like. The liner was nice. It's very creamy, easy to apply. I don't know how the lasting power on it will be, but I liked it when I applied it. And I love the L'Oreal Glow Paradise Balms. I love the shade Beige Eden 180, kind of a lighter pink, but it looks nice with that brown lip liner. And then Nude Heaven is the other one that I love. It's a little bit darker, a little bit rosier. And I think that is everything, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know a lot of you wanted to see a full face of L'Oreal, so I'm excited that I was able to share that with you. Overall, honestly, a lot of these things were kind of disappointing. I was much happier with my full face of Maybelline that went up a few weeks ago. I will link that in the cards above for you. If you haven't seen it and you want to go watch it, definitely do that. I feel like I liked a lot of those products a lot more than these, and Maybelline overall is a less expensive drugstore brand than L'Oreal. So I would probably go Maybelline for the most part, but thank you so much for watching. Comment below and let me know what drugstore brand you want to see next. I will have everything listed and linked below as always. I hope you'll subscribe if you're new and follow me over on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1. And I will see you next time for another video. Remember, simply be you. Bye.